Stories like these are the kind that the American movie industry makes films about for years. America has now got all the ingredients for Maverick Part 3, how America's F-15E strike aircraft was shot down over southwestern Iran on April 3rd. 2 crew members, 1 pilot and 1 weapons officer eject. The pilot is rescued within a few hours, but the second weapons systems officer remains trapped in Iran for 2 days. Is he alive? Is he dead? Has he been captured? The whole world didn't know, and for America, this was a very interesting turning point. Because in more than 20 years, it had never happened that one of their pilots was trapped in enemy territory. If Iran had captured this pilot, it would have been a huge embarrassment for America. The pilot would have been paraded around. In exchange for the pilot, many prisoners of war would have been demanded. So America launched a dramatic rescue mission. America says this was the most successful rescue mission in its history. But during this very successful rescue mission, many of America's aircraft, helicopters, and drones were destroyed. Equipment worth more than $400 million was destroyed. Now the question is, was this the whole story, or is there some truth to what Iran is saying? Iran is saying that this is just a cover story. America was trying to carry out a ground incursion here, trying to establish a forward base, and the F-15E that was shot down was part of this very mission. When that fighter was downed, America's plan was exposed. These planes were not stranded on the ground. The planes that were destroyed were shot down by Iran. Iran claims that this major mission was carried out because it was not very far from Isfahan. Somewhere, there was a plan being made to tap into Iran's uranium supply and loot it from there. Now, America has paid a heavy price, though they did manage to save their pilot. But now the question arises, could there be a ground invasion after this? Does America have air domination? Is Iran now turning the entire game around? Because Iran is saying that very soon it will have complete control over its airs. Donald Trump is running out of time, ultimatums, and patience. Donald Trump is resorting to abusive language. Israel is talking about dropping a nuclear bomb there, and Trump is dropping F-bombs. Are we about to witness some kind of max this week? We'll talk about that. But let's talk about this rescue operation because it could change the direction of the war. Who is telling the truth? Who is lying? An F-15E offensive deep strike operation enters Iranian airspace. According to reports, this was a night strike package sent to target Iranian military assets, and attached beneath this aircraft was the GBU-28 bunker-busting bomb. This bomb is a large penetrating munition. This bomb is designed to destroy hard targets underground, such as bunkers. But if you want to deliver this bomb effectively, the aircraft needs to climb a bit, gain altitude, and then release the bomb. But in the process of climbing and gaining altitude, you end up exposing yourself on the radar. You become exposed to enemy fire and become vulnerable. In this very situation, as the F-15 was approaching the position to drop the bomb, it was shot down by a surface-to-air missile. Iran claims that it was knocked down by one of their new advanced air defense systems, which they are gradually introducing everywhere now. Some experts believe that it could also be a Russian or Chinese shoulder-mounted anti-aircraft system. The first rescue attempt is launched within just a few hours. The pilot is also extracted. It's a textbook extraction, which is certainly a good thing, but the weapons systems officer, who is a colonel-ranked officer, ends up getting stuck there. He gets separated from his pilot. Now, knowing that there are many enemies nearby, he moves to a ridgeline at 7,000 feet to protect himself, where satellite connectivity might also be better, and he hides himself in a small crevice so that he cannot be caught. His agenda was to keep broadcasting his signal gradually. The American forces would find him. For the next 24 to 48 hours, he kept quietly hiding and transmitting his location in this way, and apart from a handgun, he had nothing else with him. Basically, he was unarmed. If the Iranians had caught him, but he did have one device called the CSL, Combat Survivor Evader Locator. This is a Boeing-manufactured satellite tracker. It weighs 800 grams, but it can save a life. It is attached to the pilot's survival vest. It is capable of withstanding the force of an ejection. It is waterproof. It has a battery life of more than 20 days. This device was sending an encrypted location locator signal to the military satellites above, and it rapidly keeps changing its frequency, making it very difficult for Iranian radar to detect it. But even then, as a precaution, these pilots are trained not to constantly broadcast their signal or location, to use it sparingly, and to turn on the beacon only occasionally so that the enemy cannot track them down. The officer provided all the details to the CIA in an encoded fashion: his location, his injuries, his status, and the movements happening around him. The CIA decoded this information and supplied the Pentagon with his exact location and condition. After that, the Pentagon launched a major mission with the F-15E. Now, this mission that was launched included a ground operation as well as a deception campaign. American sources say that this deception campaign was a misdirection campaign intended to give the pilot more time and allow for better preparation. Meaning, they deliberately made radio transmissions saying that they had found the co-pilot, the weapons officer. They said they were extracting him via a ground convoy. So the Iranian forces thought, all right, we need to intercept a ground convoy, and they set out to catch that ground convoy, which actually didn't even exist. This bought several hours to mount the rescue operation, which Trump very happily called one of the most daring search and rescue operations in US history. Now, this also involves SEAL Team 6, the same unit that killed Osama bin Laden in 2011. Along with them, there were 700 Special Operations Forces personnel. That means there were Delta Force commandos, Army Rangers were on standby, and there was also a conventional force. Helicopters, surveillance planes, fighters, and aerial tankers were all ready to provide support. Drones and bombers were ensuring that if any Iranian search party even accidentally got close to their pilot, they would bomb them. We bombed the entire route and secured it. After that, 2 MC-130J Commando II aircraft, each valued at over $100 million, were deployed. A makeshift desert airstrip. This was an old airstrip that the CIA had identified. These planes landed inside Iran. From them emerged MH-6 Little Bird helicopters. These helicopters can travel very silently over short distances. Imagine they fly buzzing like a dragonfly. The troops depart, leave the landing strip, and head to the mountain where the officer is hiding. A Little Bird helicopter goes up to the mountaintop, picks up the officer, and returns to the landing strip. The entire mission was about to be successful when a final twist occurs in the story. American sources say that the nose gear of one or both aircraft gets stuck. Both planes are unable to take off because they get stuck in the sand, and as a result, they realize that time is running out for them. Because the Iranian forces have realized that something is fishy here. They start sending their jeeps and forces towards the aircraft. Now, this entire rescue party, more than 100 people, could have been killed. Meanwhile, the bombers above dropped even more bombs to stop the IRGC vehicles. 3 additional replacement aircraft were then called in urgently. These aircraft came in under fire, rescued everyone, and flew them out. After the extraction, the US forces even bombed these aircraft. Because if these aircraft fell into Iran's hands, the sensitive technology inside them would also end up with Iran or even with China or Russia. So the injured pilot was then taken to Kuwait, and Trump reported that the pilot is just fine. The operation was successful, but if you talk about material cost, America had to bear significant losses as well. The first F-15E Strike Eagle that was destroyed cost around $100 million. If we talk about the A-10 Thunderbolt, it was around $18 to $20 million. The Commando II type MC-130J that was destroyed cost $200 million. The M6 Little Bird that was destroyed was worth about $8 million, and the MQ-9 Reaper drones that were tracking and covering everything here, they too, $32 to $60 million gone. That means $400 million were lost right there, just in aircraft alone. But you saved the life of an American pilot whom Iran would have used for propaganda purposes, for hostage negotiations, that is, at the very least, priceless for America. But the story isn't that simple, because America has been lying a lot these days trying to hide the truth. Iran's version of events is quite different. If you listen to the American media, nothing could have been more successful than this. Maverick Part 3 is probably about to be released. But if you listen to Iran's IRGC, they have certainly raised some questions for which we don't have answers. First of all, Iran's IRGC is claiming that the C-130, the burning aircraft whose footage the whole world is now seeing, was shot down by them. They fired at the Black Hawk helicopter, and their state television broadcast is clearly stating that they destroyed this entire American operation. Along with that, they claim to have shot down the US MQ-9 Reaper drones. They also fired at a Black Hawk helicopter. After that, this Black Hawk helicopter limped its way out of their territory. The BBC even showed verified footage of how Iranians were firing at US helicopters with their rifles. Remember, this is a region of nomadic tribes. The IRGC had informed them and also told them that if they managed to capture the missing officer, they would receive a hefty reward. A reward of $60,000 would be given. After this, many people set out to search for the American pilot and American equipment. But the head of energy management in Iran goes a step further. He claims that this entire rescue mission is just a cover story. America is lying to the world, and there is some truth to this. Iranian officials are asking, you have sent 2 C-130s, multiple helicopters, this overwhelming force. Has it ever happened that so many lives are put at risk just to rescue 2 aircrew members? They also claim that the way this operation is being conducted, it is just a few miles away from Iran's famous nuclear-linked facility at Iftar. This operation is taking place in Khuzestan, Iran's most critical energy hub. Is this just an incident, or is it the same area where US and Israeli forces had carried out a strike? On Saturday, Iran's energy officials publicly stated that this operation was never a rescue operation at all. There was some major operation underway in the south of Iran. The very first and obvious question which America will have to answer is why so many aircraft were deployed to rescue just one person. Did you risk the lives of 100 people just to save one person? Two C-130s, each with a carrying capacity of 60 to 70 troops. So you can understand that potentially 120 to 140 ground personnel could be brought in. Why was it necessary to send these two aircraft along with the 4 Little Bird helicopters, support aircraft, drones, and special operations personnel? Why did you land them here? In standard combat and search and rescue operations, such a large-scale rescue operation is never conducted just to save 1 or 2 crew members. So many lives are not put at risk. Question number 2. The kind of location being discussed here, Khuzestan, where this operation takes place, is Iran's oil heartland, and this is where their airstrikes have happened before as well. So one theory is that the F-15E that was shot down was actually providing cover for a separate ground insertion operation that was underway there. But when that F-15 is shot down, the JSOC operation gets exposed. After that, an escalation occurs, which is when the ATS-130 comes in. None of these things were for a rescue operation. They were already there, and then an even larger force was sent to evacuate them. Otherwise, they all would have been killed. Now look at this map and zoom out a bit. This is where the clash happens. It's just an incident. You can also think of it like a fire breaking out in the laundry room these days on large ships. If you zoom out on this map, you'll see how close Iftar is to the place where this entire combat situation develops. The rescue operation develops where Iran's nuclear-linked facilities are located. Natanz is Iran's most critical uranium enrichment site. It falls in the same area. It's within helicopter distance. Iran's head of energy management had explicitly flagged this point, questioning whether this whole incident is just a coincidence, given that you are only miles away from Iftar. This is one theory that is circulating. We are talking about defense analysis. We cannot confirm this, but it was an American incursion. Near Natanz, the initial objective was not rescue. The objective was to seize and secure Iranian uranium, their enriched uranium, load it onto the aircraft, and get out. But when this F-15 gets shot down, which the Americans did not anticipate, the entire plan gets exposed. Remember, the Trump administration had already stated that they could carry out such an operation, and they had instructed Planet Labs not to release satellite imagery immediately. Why not release it? Because they didn't want the whole world to know what was happening here. After the plan fell flat, this entire so-called rescue narrative was brought out. Question number 3. This stuck-in-the-mud formula doesn't make any sense. What does the Pentagon have to say? The Pentagon says that this MC-31 couldn't take off because its landing gear got stuck in the soft desert terrain. Okay, even if it did get stuck, the other planes you called for rescue, those weren't helicopters, you called in planes. So how did they manage to land there? You took another risk by having more planes land there, so this doesn't really add up either. This whole storyline just doesn't add up. And this MC-131, it's not a passenger aircraft. It has a different role in rescue operations. Its job is to land on rough terrain for short trips, meaning it can land where there is no prepared runway. And the specific job of this aircraft is not to rescue a pilot. It has a different role. Its job is to insert ground forces during special operations. So is it possible that the theory floated by America is only half the truth, and the full truth is that people had already been inserted here beforehand, and this was actually an ongoing operation? That operation could not be completed, and then the agenda of the operation was changed from search and rescue to declaring it a success story. So this whole rescue story and the involvement of so many people just doesn't add up. But there is one thing that everyone will agree on. Even Iran will agree. America will also agree that American military hardware worth hundreds of millions of dollars went up in flames in Iran today. Iran is broadcasting this fact. America is saying that they themselves destroyed it. Iran is saying that they shot it down and completely destroyed it. The footage is real. There is no debate about it burning. Iran is calling it a victory by showing this. Just think, when was the last time this happened? It happened more than 2 decades ago, and Trump is saying that this is either a huge victory for them or a very close shave. How much relief will this close shave actually bring for Trump? No matter how much Trump pats himself on the back in press conferences, the ground situation hasn't changed. The pilot was rescued. All right, the mission was underway. No, it's not clear whether Trump will respond to this or not. But the deadline has already passed. Iran is not compromising. Iran is not talking. The mediators have been sent back. Once again, before the market opened, Trump tried to float another slogan that a ceasefire was about to happen. But even before the market opened, Iran shut it down. People have now understood this pattern. Deadlines are passing one after another, but the Iran issue is still not being resolved. On the other hand, Iran is saying that if you rain fire on us, we will also close the other strait, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. There will be even more pressure on the world when we close both Hormuz and Bab el-Mandeb. Finally, even America might not be able to deny this. The air domination they were boasting about until a few days ago has now completely vanished. Iran, on the contrary, is saying that they are now going to establish control over their entire airspace because they now have missiles equipped with new technology. This means that now low bombing missions won't be possible. Yes, America will keep sending its big bombers from above to carry out high-altitude bombings. And innocent people will keep dying. Meanwhile, there are also reports coming in. Iran has attacked American forces in Kuwait as well, so this war shows no signs of ending yet. Trump is losing his patience, he's losing his temper. He's resorted to using abusive language, but Iran has made it clear that it will not accept any random ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed for now. If Iran accepts such a ceasefire, it knows it would be signing its own death warrant. We will continue to bring you more updates on this developing episode.